Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
Good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com, where pop culture gets blasted. And tonight we are deviating a bit away from the crowd-funded comic book model that we love to talk about and frequently do. But we're still going to be in the comic book fandom arena here because we have somebody who has done a comic book in the past. It's just that tonight he happens to be promoting a book, the real book, no pictures. No, we do not denigrate comic books by separating it from real books. This is a text novel. So we'll go with that. Welcome with me to the show, Mr. James Lee, the author of The STINES. James, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you tonight?
If the snow would just melt away, I would be just fine.
Yeah, I wish I would go away from here too.
This business of looking out your window and having to look up to see the ground is no fun. This kind of blizzard snow we're getting.
Ooh, yeah, it was really cold this morning here.
So you've got now when I read your title, The STINES, the first thing that a horror fan's going to think of course, is the giant lumbering monster. But that's not anywhere near Frank N. in all of this, is it?
No, well, there is a monster in it, but he's not lumbering and everything like that, and he's much older than the Frankenstein monster. He's completely different in this book, and he's more of the guardian, caretaker of the whole estate and the family that's around him. But the book actually wraps around a young girl. A girl named Mary J. Von Stein. She's born in Mississippi. Her father is the DA of a small town. Her mother is Egyptian. And what happens is her parents are brutally murdered. And so she is forced by court order to go to this country in Europe and live with her relatives, which are distant relatives, which puts the monster as her legal guardian. There's a lot of with the hiding of the creatures and everything. The thing is, they want to keep a low profile. They don't want to be out in public. They want to keep everything that's going on in that country secret. Everybody in the country knows what's going on, but everybody outside of the country doesn't. And it's a real small country. It's fictional. It sits between Liechtenstein and Austria. And so what happens is she goes over there and she finds out that everybody in her family is monsters. Everybody. There's ghouls, pack of werewolves. There's a young pack of werewolves. There's an older pack of werewolves. There's vampires. There's Walking Dead. It's all over that mountain. And she's stuck right in the middle of them. And so you have that story of her trying to adjust to that. You have that story of the monsters trying to keep a low profile, plus the adolescent monsters can't control their powers, so they rampage a couple of times. And plus you have the assassins that want to kill her. And so that all boils into the first book. This is a 3-book trilogy. And so you have to pace it out as you go until you start building up more and more for the other 2 books that are coming out.
Okay, so this would be her father's side of the family or her mother's side?
This is the father's side of the family. The mother's side of the family is very well hidden. You don't really know anything about her mother. There's a mystery behind her. Like I said, she's Egyptian. She is very beautiful. You don't see her very often because, like I said, they die real early in the book. But because of her mother, the reason is everything about the assassins is based on her mother. It's not on her father. The book shows you think it is the father, but it's actually everything's wrapped around her mother. Because her mother is not a monster, but her mother's known as a godling.
Okay, but this is all new to your young female protagonist, so she's got to be going through not just adjusting to, wow, my family is this, but taking a step back, saying my dad was this, and then of course, what the hell am I?
Well, the thing is, her father is normal. Her father. I'll explain the connection between her father and the vampire, the main vampire. You go back to 15. It's basically 1507 is when all this goes down. This is the time where the Ottoman Turks are invading Europe. In this small country, there's two brothers. One is known as the Great Prince, and his younger brother is the Count. The Count's the one that becomes the vampire. What happens is they're going out for war. They think they can stop the Ottomans where they're at. The battle goes horrifically wrong. And by going horrifically wrong, the Great Prince dies, but the way he dies is very heroic to get his men to fight back. As his brother's watching, who is a very dedicated brother, I mean, very dedicated. He's sworn an oath to his brother that he would always protect the family and everything. His brother is cut down from behind. So the Count, laying there dying, makes a prayer. He's willing to be damned to do everything he can to save his people, save his brother's family. And so you have this, what I call an avatar, show up. And this avatar runs through the whole story. It pops up. It's a little black cat with white paws. And the agreement is, if you want the power, you're going to be cursed. And the Count doesn't hesitate. And that's how because of the avatar makes him the vampire. And he goes and saves everybody. But as the story goes on, you find out that it just gets worse and worse and darker. Because his older brother's family goes on and keeps ruling up until a certain point where there are twin boys born. One stays in the country, one goes to the United States. But the one that's in the country, who's the ruler, doesn't last long. He gets a very illness and dies. So the other brother has to come back. So when the brother comes back, he makes an agreement with the monsters because he doesn't want to be around them. He doesn't want to have anything with the country because he's got a young family over in the United States, that the monsters will be the caretaker and one of his descendants will come back to take the throne. So he leaves and goes back to the United States. Well, present day, the DA, the father, Victor von Stein, was the direct descendant, the only direct descendant, and his daughter, who is Mary Jade von Stein, is now the rightful controller of the kingdom. She didn't know any of this. She finds the diary, she finds the letter from her father, and the orders are for her to go anyway. So she presents it to the court when the court's making the ruling on where she's supposed to go. And with representatives from the Baron, which is the monster, his representatives show up right at the end of the court case to show documents and stuff, and they take her back to this country. When she gets back to the country, she has read the diary all the way through, so she knows about the monsters. And she's going through. The big surprise is she still does not know anything about her mother. So when she gets back to this country, she goes in, has this confrontation with the Count to show that she's not going to be a pushover. She's got a backbone, and she's accepted into the family. Well, she gets the castle. She gets everything. It's all hers. So going through all this, she discovers that her mother was not normal. She discovers that her mother, which is a godling, which is a being that is born between two pantheon gods. And she discovers that her mother is the daughter of Bastet, the cat goddess. And so with that, she's also the granddaughter. She's also Bastet's sister is Sekhmet, and they're both married to Anubis. So all three of them are Mary's grandparent that watches. They watch over her son a little bit as well, which that comes into a lot of play in the next two novels.
All right, so she's sort of
Demigod.
a demigod or
right, like Hercules, Perseus, one of those like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Nephilim is the word that was struggling.
Right.
Now go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The vampires in your book are they your standard universal monster vampires where it's like garlic, running water, sunlight have to be avoided? Are you going more sparkly, or are you making up your own?
No. Well, I've had to make a lot of changes because I didn't want to sound like I was taken directly from Dracula. So what I did was, they do have powers. They can break their bodies up into bats and stuff like that. Sunlight still hurts them, but the only way you can kill them is by staking the heart and taking their heads off. That's it. You can't kill them any other way.
Yep. It was I wrote a vampire story one time about a guy who just chose to be a vampire. Picked up vampirism as a lifestyle choice. He's like, yeah, stake through the heart will work just great. Wouldn't do wonders for you either. But I always wondered why that was the case. What it was about wood and the heart. It always had to be a wooden stake. It seemed like.
Because it's of earth.
Okay, so technically you could take a stalagmite and do the same thing.
Technically you could, yeah. But the wood's more prevalent. It's easier to get.
Yeah, well, true. You can just break one off any tree, as opposed to going spelunking for something. So this vampire that is the count. He should be very long lived then.
Yeah, all of them are long lived. I mean, all the monsters are long lived. So they're all the monsters except for the pack, which is the werewolf pack. There's the leader of the pack now. He's old too. They're all about 500 years old. So they don't look, but they're
So they became monsters and they just kind of stopped. There's no new generations of the Stein family from their branch.
From their branch, no. The old branch goes off of Mary's side because they were the ones that stayed human. Because the count, I'll explain what happened with the count. His wife gets, which you learn in book 2, his wife gets very hurt. I mean, she gets, during the attack from the Turks, she almost dies. So she decides to stay with her husband. And at which point he turns her into a vampire. So you have her and him around. And then later on with the daughter, when her and her husband get attacked by the werewolf and pretty much turn to shreds, he steps in to save his daughter. So you have the count, you have his wife and his daughter that are all vampires.
Right. You don't really see monster families in serious fiction, and I'm taking from your tone that this is more serious fiction.
This is a very serious. There's a lot of people that die in this book. Like I said, the pack. Like I said, there's 2 different packs. Well, there's actually 3. You have the adolescent pack, which is controlled by the vampire's son, because he's a werewolf too. They're all about 18, 19 years old, so they're still maturing. There's 9 of them. There's 8 boys and a girl. They're all siblings from one family.
They come from a litter.
Right, exactly. And above that, you have another vampire group, which has an elder. His name is John. And he's from around World War II. He was British service, and he was working with the Count during World War II. And he just stayed with the Count. Now, his father is the Lord of all werewolves, but he is located in Monaco. Now, he's hidden in Monaco. This is why Monaco was never taken by the French or by Italy or anything like that, and it stayed the solo principality that it is today, is because down there is a whole army of werewolves. We're talking about 500. So they're well hidden down there, which they do play a part later on in the story as well. But with adolescents, because they're still going through their raging stages, they will go out like on a full moon. They have to keep control. They have to keep a watch over them because they still can't control their shifting abilities. And when they shift, they go into a rage. And so that happens in the book. They kill quite a few people. And then when you get to that part of where the assassins come in, that's when everything gets, you actually see what the werewolves can do. You actually see what the vampires can do. And the other thing is, when I came up with the assassins are specifically special forces trained in monster killing. They know what they're doing when they go in. They're not like your typical, I would say Scooby-Doo group. These guys, they're backed by a government. They're fully trained special forces. They have all the modern technology to fight, and they go into it to wipe out monsters. And so you have those guys coming in.
Well, yeah, they went after a demigod. They're not going to be scared of a vampire.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, and so that's all in the first book. We have with all that going on in the first book, which is a lot. Plus, right in the middle of this whole thing going down, I give Mary J. Von Stein a boyfriend. So you have that romance running right down the middle of the book. So you have this romantic story between him and her, with all these monsters, the assassins, everything going through. And that's just in the first book. So, once you get into the second book, when you see the main villain, understand what's going on with that main villain and why that main villain hates monsters so much, it really becomes clear.
How far are you from having the second book ready for consumption?
The second book is completely written. It is done. It's ready to go to editing, which will go next month. And then I have already started on book 3. Book 3 is about, I think, 15,000 words already written.
Okay.
So it's all plotted out. I know exactly how the story ends. It's not like Game of the Story of Fire and Ice, where he's open-ended and he's been writing it for 10 years. My plan is this September, book 2, and then next September, book 3.
Now, who did you go through for your cover? Did your publisher take care of that? Because
my publisher took care of it.
that's a very nice cover.
The thing was, I drew out a plot version of the cover, what I wanted. And I can, hold on, I'll send it to you. But I don't think I can share it on screen. I don't know how to do that. But hold on, I'll pop it over to you in just a second.
Okay. You sending it in the private chat here?
I can send it over to you on Twitter.
Okay.
Just one second. Okay. Okay, I just sent it to you.
All right. Waiting for it to pop up here. There you are.
And you can see that was what I sent them, and then he turned it into that. So you can see how close he got to what I originally had done.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, was it your idea that they would be silhouettes like that, or?
Well, I'll explain. I didn't have time to actually draw all the characters, so he was like, "Well, why don't we do them in silhouette and black to make it more mysterious?" And he sent me the picture, and I saw it like that. I was like, "That's perfect." I mean, I just fell in love with the cover. And
because you can put your own faces to them now.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I have artwork of like the Count. I have artwork of the Count, but it's more of a comic book style that I did on a sketch for him. So I have that. But with how he did that one, I can interchange with that. And the price was really good. Like I said, they did everything in house. They even formatted the book and everything. So I was very happy with it.
Yeah, now it looks like they also, I think I've seen that castle before. I think that's a German castle.
No, actually, that castle is in France.
Oh, okay. It's a French castle. Because it's not the
island.
It's not Cinderella's castle that we...
No, I use Cinderella's castle as a model. I didn't.
Yeah.
That is actually the island monastery that sits out near the English Channel. The one at low tide you can walk out to, but when high tide comes in, it floods the. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's really famous. But I mean, they used the right. I mean, everything he did was just perfect.
Yeah, it does look great. And this is what size of a book is this? I mean, I know a lot of the publishers now are going for the bigger.
It's the big one. I mean, I can show you I have the hardback right here, so I can show you the hardback right here. See, that's the hardback. So it's a big book. It's not it's not small. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it's not the mass market size paperback that they do now.
Oh no, the paperback I have right here, and as you can see, it's also. I mean, I went big also, so it's not small. It's full size. I think it's 6 by 9.
Okay, so that's actually a little bit bigger than the ones we do, which are like the 5.5 by 8.
Yeah, it's 6 by 9. And but no, it's really got picked up real quick, and it's sold really good. It's sold really good so far, so I'm really happy.
Now, have you been able to do conventions with this book yet, or did it come out during the?
It came out in October, so everything's shut down. What I was able to do, I've done 2 live streams on Twitch where what we did was we had a link down below, and I had set this up with the Barnes and Nobles store just down the street from me. If you clicked on the link, you could order a book from them. I would go over there and sign it, and they would ship it out to you.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So I did that twice, and they did a really good job of it, and like that. So that's how they got signed copies.
Yeah,
And,
we were going to set up a similar thing with our Barnes and Noble last spring, and things went sideways.
Yeah.
They do where I'm at every 6 months. They do a local publisher and local authors, and they just set them up in tables in there. But
yeah, right now we can't do that. And I know they are planning, I don't know if it's going to go through or not, they're planning a big comic book sci-fi convention here in Dallas in, I want to say, September or October. That's what they've got planned at the K. Billy Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas.
That's far enough out that things could be all cleared up, or something entirely new could come along and wipe it out.
Right. But right now, that's going to be probably the first one I'm going to try to attend.
All right. Do you recall when the idea for this story first hit you? What it was that triggered it?
Yeah, that's actually been 3 years ago, pretty much this day. My mother passed away in 2018, back on January, and so after going through all of that, I went and saw a doctor because I was depressed. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was just a little depression. And
well, yeah. If you weren't depressed after something like that, something be wrong with you.
Yeah, and he was like, "Well, get your mind off it, get your journal, write something." So I came home and sat down. I'm still at my full-time job, but I came home from work one night and I sat down. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching old television programs, and I see the Addams Family and the Munsters. And I was like, what if you took both of those, combined them, and made it serious? Would it work? Would it work? And the answer is no. It's a complete, utter disaster. So I threw everything away, and over a month and a half, I was like, well, those characters don't work. Could I work with a premise of having a group of monsters together? Would that work, and would it be hard? Make it really hard. So that was the first moment I started playing with this idea. And after 11 different drafts and 11 different stories, I came up with the final, what we have published. But it took a lot of work. Originally, it was going to be focused just around the vampire. The girl had really very little to do with it, and that was an awful draft. And it just morphed to where I ended up having to figure out which character to go with. And the girl was the easiest one to work with. And she was the easiest one to mold and what I needed to do.
She'd be the one most relatable to a reader to enter this.
Right. And the reason she's 17 at the starting of the book, the reason she's 17 is real simple. Makes her a minor. Court order tells her where she has to go. That's the only way you can get from the United States over to the monsters without her saying, no, I don't want to go, or like that. This way she was forced to go. Yeah.
And that makes sense. Now, you've got vampires and you've got werewolves, and they're related through links. They're family members. What do you find, intriguing or attractive about the vampire-werewolf dynamic? Because it's used a lot. It's used in Underworld. It's used in Eclipse. It's used in True Blood. Anytime there's vampires, there's werewolves. And
I think
whether
what's
they get longer,
further back than that.
they're always in the same place.
I'm fixing to show my age. And I'm going to let this out too. I am a cousin of Christopher Lee, the actor. And remember, he played Dracula a lot.
Yes.
Okay. I got to meet him I've met him several times. But he worked for Hammer Films.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, they did Werewolf also. If you remember, Hammer Films did a werewolf movie also.
Yes, they did.
And I loved that. I'm a huge Hammer Films movie buff. I love those. So, watching those, you're thinking, well, could they have combined them? That was back when I was looking. Could they have been together? Because it seems like they're in the same world. And so that's when it started. Then later on, you had the movies come out, in the early 80s of The Howling, American Werewolf in London. You had the Dracula movies come out. Not before Francis Ford Coppola, there was another Dracula movie out that was just fantastic. I can't remember who starred in it, but the director who was Dracula, but he was just fantastic. Then you had The Lost Boys come out, and then you had the RPG came out, Vampire the Masquerade,
Yeah.
and they put out a compendium book, which a lot of people don't know, Rage of the Apocalypse, which was the werewolves that combined with the Vampire the Masquerade. So that's how far back I go with crossing the two together. So it was a lot before any of True Blood or any of Underworld. We're talking early 80s.
That's very cool that you got that family connection, though, too. Did you ever meet?
Yeah, I met Christopher Lee 3 times.
That's really cool. I hope you have a family photo album with shots of that in there.
Yeah, I have some photos. Not only that, but and I'll explain my family history real quick. My family history is the Lee of Virginia. That's Robert E. Lee, Richard Henry Lee, Francis Lightfoot Lee, the two guys that signed the Declaration of Independence. All those guys are together. And then out of that also, you have the President Zachary Taylor, and then you have the two actresses, Lillian Gish and Dorothy Gish, which are the first two American actresses that were signed by Hollywood. So all those are all in the same family. And then you have the Europeans, which is Christopher Lee, Sir Humphrey Lee. There's some other Lees over there too.
That's really cool. That's a book in and of itself, James, that you should be thinking about doing on the side there. Just
Well, the thing about the family is it goes back 43 generations that we have documents. So we're talking like 103 AD.
Yeah. Now my own vampire werewolf crossover event goes back. I don't know. I guess it goes back a little further than that, showing my own age here. Ostensibly a comedy, but it was actually one of the better horror films that I remember watching, and that was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yes, you're right, because it had Frankenstein and the werewolf and Dracula in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they even got Vincent Price to do the voice of the Invisible Man right there at the very end of it. All of them,
You're right. You're absolutely right.
That was so it's just been a tradition then for vampires and werewolves. Now they're often, almost always, at each other's throats. How does that work in your book with them being family members? Is there a tense relationship there, or is it pass me a beer at the reunion kind of relationship?
Well, this is the way this works. The way I did it was, you have the Lord of the Vampires, which is my vampire. He's in Moldova. The Lord of the Werewolves is down in Monaco. So they're actually got their own different kingdoms. So they're separate. The thing is during this all goes to World War II. World War II, you have the Germans and everything rounding up the Jews and stuff like that. Well, the Count made an oath to protect his people. That's everybody. So he gets really ticked off at the Germans, and he goes after them. Well, one of the werewolves was in England, and his offspring is this guy named John McGregor. And John was an SAS soldier in World War II that goes to the kingdom to help the Count. Well, during the combat and everything, the Count saves his life. So this werewolf stays with the Count.
Okay.
And it's a loyalty thing. because my count is not Dracula. My count is this very honor-driven warrior. You know, he made his oath to his brother. He's never going to break it. He's going to protect the family. He's going to protect the country.
So if he's protecting the country and he's honor-driven and he's a vampire, what's he eat?
Oh, he gets blood. Yes, he gets blood. The way it works is he doesn't need that much blood. He's not. You don't have to. A vampire in my book doesn't have to gorge. It only takes like 2 or 3 drops, and he's fine for a day. So it's real light blood. I mean, just a little bit. So he has he has all these servants and everything on the mountain. And there are some human servants who willingly gives him blood. So that's how he gets his blood. He doesn't go rage, or he doesn't go through the town or anything like that.
Okay, but the werewolves, especially the young ones, they do go into a rage, and
yeah, they go into a rage. It's early in the book. I want to say chapter 13. They break out, and they go on they don't go into the town. They go into the countryside. And the problem is, as they're going through the countryside, they sense Mary up in the castle. And you know how wolves senses if something's more powerful, they sense it as a threat.
Yeah,
that's what happens. So they turn and they go to the castle. So they actually attack the castle. They kill a couple of guards, kill a couple of people, and they get into her bedchamber where she's at. Now, in the book, I don't say what happens in the bedchamber, but I will say this: they walk into something they were not expecting to see, and they get really tore up.
Well, that sounds like a selling point for getting in on this book. And folks, if you're watching this on the replay here, or you're watching it now, the link to get James' book on Amazon is right there below in the description. It's the very first link. And full disclosure, that is a Critical Blast affiliate link. So yeah, we'll get a nickel or two if you click on that link and pick up the book. Amazon requires that we tell you this. I don't know. I guess it's because there are some people who just direct people to Amazon for absolutely free. I'm not one of them. So you're gonna have 3 more books. When do you think the second one's out? It's in editing now, so I would expect within.
I'm looking at middle September.
Okay, so that's a good ways out. That's going to be a lot of editing, so it's going to be very thoroughly looked at.
I have a very good editor. I mean, he did a fantastic job. On this first book, and I've taken writing classes, and so my book's not just a complete disaster before the editor gets it. I go through it pretty hard myself before I send it to him. So it only usually goes through once or twice, and that's it. By the time he gets it, it's almost ready to go. Because I've been doing a lot of writing in the past, and like I said, I'm 50 years old, so I've been writing since I was 12, 13. So.
Oh yeah, I've still got the novel that I wrote in 8th grade. I'm 53. And
yeah, I've got a character that I'm really looking at after I get this done of doing a comic book with that I've had since 1985. So I'm probably going to roll her out as a comic book, not as a novel, probably 2 to 3 years from now. So, and I've already started plotting the pages already. So.
Amazon's giving me a really hard problem finding the book.
Hold on, I'll send you the link.
So there it is. I just got to quote things to get the words to group together. So. Mm-hmm. I'm playing the paperback right now. You can get the paperback for $14.99, which for the 6x9s or whatever it is now size, that's a really, really good deal. Hardcover 24, also a good deal. That's pretty much what they go for. Did you go hardcover and softcover right at the same time, or did you hardcover for a while and then?
No, everything came out at the same time.
Okay, yeah, we have a young adult superhero novel, Bulletproof, that we put out in hardcover, and I let it sit there for a year in hardcover before I came out with paperback, because the idea was that, hey, we'll put it in paperback when the next hardcover is ready to go. And now I'm like, you know what? The next hardcover is underway. We'll just put it in paperback now.
The thing is when I first released this, I was selling the hardback like, tomorrow. And The sales, my majority of sales for like the first month actually came out of Europe.
That's interesting.
Which really surprised me because there was some bookstores over there that ordered directly from England Spark, because that's where everybody orders from, and they picked up quite a few novels. I mean, they picked up, I want to say, 200, 250 copies that went out like on the first week.
Did you tell Ingram to put it in the catalog that, took that
Yeah,
extra?
everything was in the catalog. So everybody was able to, no matter where you were at, you were able to get the hardback or the softback.
Okay.
So,
That's a step I didn't take with one of my books, and I guess maybe I should have, since it allows the other stores to order.
yeah. I know I have sales in Romania, Germany, France, all of the United Kingdom. I also got Norway and Sweden as well, plus New Zealand and Australia.
All the vampire and werewolf hotspots. I guess they're looking to see if they're in the book or see how close you got to it.
Yeah, and but yeah, like I said, it's gone really well. I actually made it for 1 week, almost in both categories inside the top 10,000. Almost made it to the top 5,000. So that takes a lot of work to do.
Absolutely, yeah, because if you've never released a book before, folks, and seen the Amazon rankings, there are apparently more titles out there than there are more titles out there than are people on the earth, I believe. So when you put a book out and you see that it's ranking 6,000,005, that means that there's 6,000,005 separate titles ahead of yours.
Yeah, like I said, both of mine have been in that top 10,000. So, and like I said, I almost made it in the top 5,000. So I was like really, really happy with that. And for going through it with a small company, first time author to get that far out.
You're in the top 8,200 of the coming of age fantasy. That's the other thing that Amazon does, is they let you really slice down to where you want to put your book at. I wanted to make a category just for me so that I can be number one in it. Number one in all books published by Critical Blast.
No, I'm gonna send you something. This is actually the actual drawing I did of the Count as the vampire. So let me find it real quick. But this is the drawing I did this is the actual drawing of the Count that I did. And this is why when I first started working on this, I thought about doing a comic book. So I did some sketches and drawings. But that's the Count right there. And that's my drawing, so that's right. That's how I draw. So
that's cool. That's very good. So have you thought about converting this to comic graphic novel format when you're done with the trilogy?
The problem is it's just so big. It's massive. There's 78 different characters in the story.
That's a lot of characters.
And trying to draw each one of those characters is going to be really hard to do. That's why I'm just going to keep this as novel. And then the other character that I made back in '85, I'll probably roll her out for comic book because she's going to be a lot easier to work with.
So you are looking at doing some comics?
Yeah, I'm looking to get back into it, yeah.
All right. Maybe we'll see you on crowdfunding then when you're ready to do that.
Well, yeah, that's as you've seen, I'm around Comicsgate, here, Ethan, I'm running around all over the place. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing because, back in the early 90s, there wasn't Comicsgate. There was nothing. There was, you're out on your own. You got to come up with your own money. The only place you could get printing was at Brenner Printing in San Antonio. And that was 3,000 print run, black and white, color cover. And they'll do it for you, but you got to go in and do everything for yourself.
Yeah, and you can get it printed, but Diamond may not let you distribute. Diamond may let you distribute the first book and say, yeah, you didn't sell enough. We're not going to list number 2. So, what are you going to do with your box of number 2s now?
Yeah, that's why
order.
I did the number 1. I went to conventions. I sold it through the conventions. I didn't even go to Diamond. And I was able to sell all 3,000, but I was like, I'm not going to do this again. So, but it was able for me to go to conventions and talk to other people. And back then, because I can use James or Jim. Because I was young and stupid, I was going by Jim also, and then I went into the other Jim Lee, which was really funny. That whole thing is just hilarious to begin with because you have two people with the same name, and so I got to spend about 2 hours with him, and he helped fix my. If you notice the drawing, how close it is to his, he helped me fix my anatomy, gave me some really good pointers on how to fix what books to buy, to look at anatomy, how muscles work, how they attach to the bones, and all that. So back in the day, getting any time with him was something special. But I got like 2 hours just to sit with him, and he. The thing was, I had taken architectural design in school, so I could draw backgrounds. I had no problem drawing backgrounds, real complicated ones, and he loved my backgrounds. But he was like, "You got to fix this and this with your bodies because it's really bad." And then I went and got the books he told me to, and 4 or 5 years later, I was drawing like this. So
Yeah, because this is a very detailed. I'll put it back up here for folks to see. This is a very detailed pencil drawing of the face here.
yeah,
It's. I think you do very well to get back into crowdfunded comics too.
yeah.
Now I don't know how long it takes to draw something like that. I'm not an artist. I do not.
I'll tell you exactly how. I still say that's one of my best drawings I've ever done. That took 3 days.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm talking 5, 6 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that took a long time.
And that's just pencil. That's not even inked. So
It's never been inked.
is it inked?
No, it's never been inked.
Okay.
I was worried about inking it. I was like, I don't, because when I start inking, my hand shakes, so I'm gonna have to find somebody to ink for me. But no, I wasn't even going to take a chance on inking that.
That's. I think we'll see you crowdfunding some comics here in the next 3 years, James.
Yeah, I should be. But like I said, I want to get this story out. I want to get this done because there's a whole lot more stuff going on. There's a whole bunch of more vampires that you haven't seen yet. There's an underlying hatred that's going on between one group of vampires and this group of vampires and everything. So there's a lot more in this book to come.
Now, are you going to have? I mean, I know that you've already got the werewolves and the vampires, and there's Egyptian theology involved as well. But are you going to be dropping any other monster types in over the next 2 books?
Yeah, there's going to be some other stuff coming in. You're going to see more. You have the Egyptian pantheon. I'll explain how I got all that the pantheons to work. This is how far back I had to go with my book in creating the background story and everything in the book, which really you don't even see any of this in the book. There's a little mention, but not much. What I said was when the universe was created, you had God, and then when you go look at the book of Job, it talks about the sons of God.
Right.
What I said was he created the pantheon of gods to help start the earth up with man and everything like that. But half of them rebelled, and so you had that great war that's in Genesis between all the pantheon of gods and everything. So there's some gods that are still here and other gods that are not here, and that lets me pick and choose which ones I want here, and I don't have to have every one of them here in my story. I will say you will be seeing Hades and Persephone. You will be seeing Thor, so you'll be seeing those. They'll show up. You're going to find out that Hades, the gods that are responsible for the vampires, and the gods that are responsible for the werewolves. The ones that's responsible for the werewolves is Hades. The werewolves are the children of Hades.
And somewhere along the way, we're going to find out which one of them runs around the earth as a little black cat with white paws.
The little black cat with white paws is real simple. She belongs to Bastet.
That would make sense. So now there's the family connection with Mary Jane.
And here's the other family connection. The one who creates all the vampires is Anubis. So you have those two deities You have the fairy, the judgment god, and then you have the god of death. Both sides. One has the werewolves, one has the vampires. And Hades and Anubis are on speaking terms, but they're not best friends. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's why they're in different pantheons.
Different territories.
Yeah, different underworlds.
Yeah. Well, no, it's the same underworld. In this one, it's the same underworld. It's just they have different territories that lead into the underworlds.
Okay.
So
That will
basically, the
see.
pantheon gods work together. They have their territories on the earth, and they try not to cross each other's territories, because that's how it was set down. Because there's that high god, which I call El. He is the one in charge, and there's nothing above him.
Okay, so that would be the Norse god of the underworld then.
No, El is the Jewish god.
Oh, I thought you said Hel, Hel.
No, El as in the letter L.
Gotcha. Elohim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now I got you now.
he's over everybody. So that's how that goes. He has specific rules that he's set down for them. So that's how it plays out. That's how in depth this story got. It just got so huge. To do this one little story, I had to do all this backstory and everything just to get to where I'm at with this story.
So we've got vampires, werewolves, and it just gets higher from there to where we're dealing with celestial level beings.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that mix before.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said. They said when they read the book, they were like going, "You have all these horror monsters, and you put a demigod right in the middle of them." I was like, "That's what I had in mind."
Yeah. So that's you always hear there's nothing original left anymore. It's all been done. It's just a different twist. And then you come along here and slam Edith Hamilton into Mary Shelley. That's
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing was on my monster compared to Mary Shelley, which Mary Shelley is just unbelievable writer. She did a great job. Mine's a lot older, and mine is a mixture of science and magic, not just science. And that's how the brand's made.
all right. Well, James, this has been enlightening. I'm going to have to put this in my Amazon cart now. I've got my Amazon open, so I can do just that. Take care of this while I'm here, so I don't forget it later. Add to cart. Done. I've got some stuff in there I got to pick up when I get paid this week, so it will be waiting for me now. Thank you very much for coming on and bringing the Steins to us.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to see what you do with the second book here and have you back on again. And thanks for showing up at our other streams too as well. Your input's always appreciated.
Well, for me, supporting the independent guys. That's
what we're trying to do.
We're all independent, and yes, I'm a writer, and yes, I do draw, but I've been around comic books since my first one. I think it was like 82, 83.
Yeah.
And I've got comic books. I got to meet some of the greatest artists of all time, some of the greatest people of all time. One of the biggest things that I still hold to this day, I got to meet Bob Kane.
Wow.
And I got to talk to him. And, I have an original artwork from him. So, that's something that I will always cherish. I have always been a big fan of comic books. I have got, you're looking at Art Thiebert's, he was like, this is all my comic books. And I was like, that's what my other room over here looks like.
I'm leaning against a 4 high, 8 long stack of white boxes right here of that they have comics in it. And yeah, wow, to meet Bob Kane. The best I can compare to that is I had a half-hour phone conversation with Stan Lee for an interview I did one time. But
yeah, I remember Stan. He joked one time at San Diego. He was like, "Oh, great, another league getting into the business."
Yes.
I mean, that's exactly what he said. He was like, "Oh, great, another league getting into business."
Yeah, and when you were talking about meeting Jim Lee and you were still using Jim, I was like, yeah. And did you introduce your brother Stan? Is what I was going to ask, but I was like, nah.
Jim Lee was the nicest guy ever. I mean, he was so nice, and gave me so much tips and how to fix everything. And I owe him a lot. I mean, just I owe him. When it comes to my network, I owe him quite a bit, and I just have utmost respect for him.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that from everybody who's ever met him. That he's one of the nicest guys. I've never had him on a stream. I wonder if he would come on, or if DC's kind of clamping down on that business because they're kind of busy right now trying to stay.
He has his own stream actually.
Might pop in and see if he wants to come on with them.
And he does stream his drawings, and he'll be on stream for like 6 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah. And he's still giving the same information he gave me 30 years ago, or 28 years ago.
Started here in St. Louis, and I've not met him, but I've met others who remember working with him when they were all independent artists working here together, coming up. He was here when he did, was it Samurai Santa or Ninja Santa? But anyway, it was a Christmas horror book where Santa was a killer with a sword. And that's Jim Lee's first work if you're out there looking for it for your collection.
Well, my collection of Jim Lee is I have everything he ever drew for Marvel. I have them all. I have his Alpha Flight, I have his Punisher War Journals, I have them all. So I've always been a fan of his. Him, Silvestri, McFarlane. I'll tell you somebody who I am a major fan of. Kelly Jones.
Who's that? Kelly Jones.
Kelly Jones?
Yeah.
Batman?
Yeah, and Dead Man.
And him and Graham Nolan, the Bane series that they did and everything. Just phenomenal. And then, he did that Batman Dracula book.
Yeah, Red Rain.
Yeah. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal. I love his work.
Yeah, he's got a very good monster style to his stuff, too.
Yeah, it's got that dark, eerie Gothic style, which is just beautiful. He does it so well.
And very exaggerated and elongated in the features, but it gives it that real eerie sense of things.
Yeah, he's really good. I really like him.
All right. Well, James, I'm going to let you go here. Do appreciate you coming on. Folks in the chat, appreciate you popping in. And if you're watching on the replay, again, don't forget, hit the Amazon link below so that you can order the Steins for yourself. Sit down and have something a little bit meatier to read than a 22-page floppy. It's always good to expand your horizons in that direction, keep the eyes sharp and the brain in motion. So with that, we're glad you all came here, and we just